It is 6 p.m. on the 11th of December 2025, and this is the time and place of Ada County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We extend our welcome to those persons here with us today, as well as anyone joining us online. I'll begin with a roll call of the commissioners. Commissioner Birch.
Here.
Commissioner Blitman. Commissioner Wickstrom. Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Rowley.
Here.
And I am Commissioner Scott, and I will be conducting this meeting for this evening. Now, just some housekeeping items here, since we do have a small crowd. If anyone wishing to testify, just note when you come forward, please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to testify. Also, if you didn't sign up in the back, there's sign-up sheets, but if you didn't sign up in the back, it's fine. I'll ask for hand raises and things like that. If there's anyone online, I'm not sure if there is, but if anyone's online, I'll usually cover them first because it's just easier that way. I'm going to open up this hearing for applications. We'll have the applicants speak. They'll get 15 minutes, and then we'll have testimony from the public. Then we'll turn it over to staff, who's going to provide clarifications, and then when the public testimony, or then when that is done, we'll have a rebuttal from the applicant, and then we'll close the public testimony portion. And the commission will have motions and debate and discussions and whatnot. So just note, please try to refrain from clapping, yelling at each other, talking over each other. Just a general level of decorum so we can kind of speed through this as well. All right, so the first item is unfinished business from the previous meeting. This is item number 2025011185-CU. MSP. This is Seven Gates Investments. This is a tabled from November 13th because of a recommendation of approval from Planning and Zoning, so we needed to revise the findings from staff. So we need a motion to approve the new revised findings.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Murphy?
based upon the findings of facts and conclusions of law contained herein and the evidence and testimony presented at the public hearings, I recommend the Ada County Planning and Zoning Commission approve project number 2025-01185-CU-MSP, subject to conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy.
Second.
Commissioner Colson is seconded. Do we need further discussion, or are we just approving this, So, all right. All those in, Commissioner Birch?
Yes. My understanding is all we're doing basically is, as you pointed out at the last meeting, it's administrative. We are approving the revised minutes from a denial to an approval. That does not mean that those who voted against it are now for it, but because I am not for it, but I am for approving the revised minutes.
I just wanted to make sure everyone was able to, if the minutes were good, because that was an extensive.
And that's a really good question, Commissioner Birch. I don't know if we're supposed to vote consistent with how we voted last time, or if we vote for approving it just to move it forward.
Yeah, I think this is the first time in almost 6 years where I have been on the side of agreeing with staff, and the majority of the commissioners voted against what staff wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, we can,
So I was going to recommend that we vote the way we did before, if we still feel that way.
I think that's fine, as long as, the problem is I don't want to run into a problem where we run against and have to revise the revise again. I don't even think that's even possible.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you should be able to vote how you see fit on the motion that's being made. So if you wanted to vote how you did last time, that's certainly acceptable. You're voting to either approve or accept these revised findings and conditions or not. So it's acceptable too.
Yeah, because the previous motion will not change. We've already voted. Depends on if we agree with what staff has said, is what it is essentially. It's not necessarily that we're reaffirming our previous vote. We're just saying, yeah, the minutes look good, staff made the changes necessary, and we can move forward. We can't overturn our own vote, I'm assuming from
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. Again, though, if somebody did not want to vote to approve this document, they could.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But, Mr. Chairman, so the thing is, though, if this is viewed by the county supervisors, they'll look at the revised findings, they'll look at the original vote, but will they look at the second vote too and see what our feelings
And
are?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this will, if you vote to approve the revised findings and conditions, we will issue those as your written decision.
Okay, so I guess it would be if you want to vote in that, I guess the bottom line is vote however you feel like, essentially. So, I mean, essentially, I assume the vote will be the same, but if not, like I said, we'll cross that bridge if necessary. So, do we want any further discussion? Is everyone, because we had the whole thing? All right. All those in favor of the revised findings, say aye.
Aye.
I also say aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, aye or nay,
Yeah.
whatever, opposed.
So, yeah, so it goes 4-3 in favor, down the same lines it was previously. All right. That was the most difficult revised findings we've had. All right, anyways, so new business, we have item number 2025-01921-CU-MSP Premier LLC, and we look to Ms. Haynes for the staff report.
Chairman and Commissioners, project number 2025-01921-CU-MSP is a conditional use and master site plan application to operate a gravel pit with accessory on-site rock crushing. The property consists of 2 parcels located at East Airy Lane and contains 637 acres in the rural residential district. The property is adjacent to Eagle City limits and relatively close to county boundaries between Gem and Boise counties. Avamore Planned Community is also located east of this site. At the time this project was submitted, the site was not located within Eagle's area of impact. It is now, under the most recent adoption, located in the area of impact. Most of the surrounding property is rangeland with planned communities to the east of Highway 55. The property is a large site with the area proposed for the gravel pit near the western portion of the property. The disturbed area will be approximately 112 acres and have access from Airy Lane. The gravel pit is proposed to be completed in 3 phases, with all extraction planned to be completed within 20 years. While rock crushing is proposed on site, no concrete batch plants or asphalt mixing is proposed. The mining areas and stockpile areas are outside of setbacks for the rural residential district, and parking will have adequate spaces provided for the use. Staff is requiring a more detailed site plan showing the parking area, fuel, scale, and portable toilets to make sure they comply with county and ADA regulations. The applicant has requested a waiver of landscaping, which staff is supportive of, and submitted a sign plan which complies with county code. The application was transmitted to agencies concerned with the protection of the public health, safety, and welfare, as well as neighbors within 1,000 feet. Eagle Fire commented that the wildfire mitigation plan needs to be approved by a wildfire mitigation specialist or certified fire protection engineer and submitted to Eagle Fire for final approval and inspection prior to operation. They are also requiring any gates to have an approved lock for emergency access. Idaho Department of Lands is requiring a reclamation plan and bond be approved with their department prior to operation. The county engineer is requiring a drainage application, a revised site plan showing Idaho Power and water line easements, plans showing an ADA space, compacted gravel surface for the parking area, and a final inspection prior to operation. Ada County Highway District has responded in an email this morning that while they have no objection to the proposal, they are delaying their report being issued to verify if they can require improvements on Willow Creek Road. Staff is amenable to having the generic condition added to the project that requires the applicant to comply with ACHD's site-specific conditions, and the applicant can appeal directly to ACHD if they want those conditions changed. Their email is printed out for the commission to review. The building official, Central District Health, and IDFG responded with no objections to the proposal. Avamore has also submitted a late comment that is in support of the gravel pit. Their comment is also printed out for the commission to review. Staff finds that the application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval to the commission with the addition of the following condition. The applicant and/or owner shall comply with Ada County Highway District site-specific conditions prior to operation. Additionally, as required by county code, this project will also be reviewed by the commission 2.5 years after operation for further consideration. The email received by Ada County Highway District will be entered into the record as Exhibit Number 33, Avamore's comment as Exhibit Number 34, and this presentation will be known as Exhibit Number 35. I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Haynes. Does the commission have any questions for staff? Commissioner Rowley?
Mr. Chairman, a question regarding that comment there. The application will come under Planning and Zoning Commission review in 25 years.
2.5.
2.5, I'm sorry, bad eyes, never mind.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Blitman?
Hi. I wondered your comment, the applicant shall comply with the Ada County Highway Districts regarding specific conditions. If we were to add that as condition number 22, is that what you're recommending?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it may be, this may be a question for the applicant, but their access, getting in there, is it going to go to the west, going out to 16, or are they going to continue to improve the road going to the east, going out to 55?
So at the moment, I do not believe Erie is going to be extended with this project. It is over the course of 20 years. So in the future, when development is a little bit closer, Erie Lane is expected to be extended.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and invite the applicant forward for their presentation. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Good evening, Chairman Scott and Commissioners. Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock in Boise, here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Premier Aggregates. We do have a team from Premier Aggregates tonight. If there are any questions for them, we have owners and resource development managers. So a lot of knowledge in the aggregate industry if you have any questions. We do want to thank you for your time tonight. We also want to thank planning staff for their time and working with us through this project. They've been very helpful. We have reviewed the staff report and the findings prepared for tonight. We're in agreement with all of staff's analysis. We're also in agreement with the proposed conditions of approval, including Commissioner Blitman, the ACHD condition that was just added. Premier Aggregates is an Idaho company. They're based in Emmett, Idaho. They have multiple sources in Ada, Gem, and Boise County, also Canyon County. They employ about 85 Idahoans, many of whom do reside in Ada County. Tonight, we're asking you all for a new conditional use permit for a new source that Premier will operate, hopefully for the next 15 to 20 years. The site for this project is located in North Ada County. It's in kind of an interesting strip of land in North Ada County between State Highway 55 and State Highway 16. We're approximately 3 miles from State Highway 55 and approximately 7 miles from State Highway 16. And Commissioner Wickstrom, to answer your question, this site will be accessed. There's essentially 3 different ways to get there. There's north coming straight out of Eagle on Willow Creek. We don't really think that is a very great, not to be utilized very frequently. Essentially, just if there are projects that this source would be serving in North Eagle, would that be used? We can also get out to State Highway 16 via Erie Lane and the new Valnova project. And Avamore's project has actually extended Erie Lane out to 55 just in the last 6 or 8 months. They've done a new water tower and water works system that needed that road to be extended. So the site can already access 55. So we anticipate access in both directions, just depends on where the trucks are going essentially. As you can see, this site is very remote and we think it's an ideal location for a new gravel source. This is just same picture zoomed in. You can see the 112-acre area where this source will be located. It is, again, fronting on Erie Lane, which is an ACHD arterial. That arterial is expected to be widened and significantly improved over the next 15 to 20 years. ACHD does want 4 lanes essentially going from 55 to 16. It's one of the reasons why this project is being proposed by Premier, because we think we're well positioned to help serve ACHD in the construction of that project. The project area is currently vacant, no structures, and it's just upland vegetation, grass and sage. Staff went through the site plan fairly well, but I'll just add that we are a three-phase project moving west to east. There will be a new access constructed off Erie Lane on that west side of the property. That's sort of the processing and staging area. You can see in the blue square there, that is the processing site for this project. A mobile crusher will be used in this instance, so it won't be permanent processing. We expect processing probably 3 to 4 months per year, and then having just stockpiles on site to serve customers and our own projects. Overburden, again, will be stockpiled on site and used to reclaim once the project's completed. And berms will be constructed along Erie Lane to create a bit of a buffer. And again, we do anticipate this would be a project that would last approximately 15 to 20 years, depending on project demand, aggregate demand. So again, we thank you for your time. We agree with all the conditions and happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any, do we have any questions of the applicant? Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you for answering my one question. So is this land going to be part of Valnova eventually? It looks like,
Yeah, Chairman Scott, Commissioner Wickstrom, no. It's not part of Valnova, and it's not part of Avamore either. We're actually leasing this property from a group called Sage Investments. They, I think, have a vision in the future to be a community like Avamore, kind of a foothills cluster development of residential. I believe they've had discussions with Eagle about annexing in the future, but have not yet. And so it would, very long way down the road, we expect some residential development here. There is a comment letter from the owners of this property in the record. They're very supportive, obviously leased it to us. So yeah.
just one more follow-up. Yeah, it was just the reason I'm asking is because Valnova was always talking about going from 16 all the way to 55 eventually, and that's why you're right in the path. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Additional questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner, it's based on your name, Murphy?
How you doing, Mr. Bauer? Just wanted to talk about trucks. You said the crusher is going to be a mobile crusher. What size is that vehicle, roughly, you think?
Chairman Scott, Commissioner Murphy. Lane Buchert's going to come up and answer that. Thank you.
Lane Bucher with Premier Aggregates, 5050 West Ridge Lane, Emmett, Idaho. The plant takes up roughly about 2 acres. There's a bunch of pieces to it, anywhere between 4 to 6 different pieces of equipment hauled in on a trailer to process and operate. But like he says, they'll be able to pack up and move. So each one of those pieces is roughly 120, 140,000 pounds.
So it gets
50 foot long, roughly, each piece that comes in.
so it comes in parts and that gets assembled on site.
Correct.
And then will it stay there for the foreseeable future, or will it? You plan on removing it?
It'll probably be on there, like he says, project dependent. There's not a whole lot of room to start the project and set up. Once we mine, we'll be able to get a little more area. But to start, probably a month, 2 months, and then as the projects grow and the demand grows, and we're working with Lenova and Avamore, we'll probably stay there a little bit longer. So.
And then, a little follow-up. Do you see any concern with the narrow roads and running trucks up there on Erie Lane right now, or are you planning on kind of widening those before you start your project, or later on?
Probably later on. We'll be working with Avamore in tandem to do that, because to start, it'll be supplying a lot of their new phases of development. So it'll be specifically just for that. It is a public road now, but it's not used.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to the public. I have 4 people listed on here. Just a quick question. They can come testify, but are they the four that you brought with you? The experts, or are they others? Okay,
So you do shift.
just wanted to make sure. So, all right, first up, we have
plus Z.
Spencer Kofod? Sorry. Yeah, can you just come forward, give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to testify.
Spencer Kofed, 21875 Koa Lane, Star, Idaho. I'm one of the owners of the project, been working with Premier on this. Just to fill in a couple of questions, I think that you had, Commissioner Wickstrom. We actually drilled the well and have coordinated with Avamore. They did and we actually have annexed and was just approved recently in the last couple of weeks to annex into Eagle. Our plat was approved on the rest of the land next to this. So we're really excited to partner with Premier and have a gravel source close by to all this. We're still a few years out from developing because we have to wait for Avamore to come. The roads are being improved out there because Idaho Power and the water lines are all going through there. So there's quite a lot of improvement going on right now, but it will take a little more time. But Premier's been great to work with. We're excited to partner with them on this project.
Any questions? Commissioner Wickstrom?
Mr. Chairman, so you're not expecting to start, they're not expecting to start any mining for a little while then?
You know, I'm not sure. I know they have
That's
to.
outside of your,
Yeah, they have to meet all the conditions of tonight's thing, so I think it'll be, a little while, but they know better than I do.
that's your question, so, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, I have is it a Trey Butchart or Borchardt? And just state your name and address, you'll have
Okay.
3 minutes.
Commissioners, thank you. My name's Trey Buchert. I reside at 5446 North Highway 16 in Eagle. And I live on the west end of this project, at least the Valnova project, down close to Highway 16. So as you can imagine, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've seen a tremendous amount of growth, activity, truck traffic, you name it. So when I kind of learned about this project, the potential of it, I was pretty excited to see something that was going to go in between two big projects, Avamore and Valnova, in order to hopefully really mitigate truck traffic. And I think it's going to have a big impact, too, on just general construction costs in general for development purposes we look forward. So I was pretty excited about it. So I just wanted to be here tonight to show my support of this project. So thank you.
Any questions? No, thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, I have, is it a Lane? Is it Becker? Oh.
I'm with Premier. Obviously, I'm in support of it. To me, it's exciting, like Dad actually was saying, but Highway 16 is consuming roughly like 40 acres of property just a year. And this is a lot deeper source, so it won't be as much of an impact. And the cost to get stuff over there is just raising the prices of everything. The next alternative to this is on Pleasant Valley Hill to drive all the way over here. So that's roughly just an hour round trip, a little more for those projects, and it's just making them expensive. So I think it'd be good, get trucks off the road and keep them close to where the projects are going. So thank you, guys.
Any questions for them? No? You did,
I have a question.
Commissioner Vlittman did have a question for you.
So are you anticipating that most of the gravel or, the aggregate would be used in this corridor and not be transported back across Boise to other places?
I have a hard time believing it'll be transported across to Boise just because there's closer sources.
Right.
So that's a supply and demand question. And when they run out and say, we have rock over here, then it probably will. In the meantime, we have blasting costs, so that's a little bit higher, and it's further than the Pleasant Valley sources. So economically, it doesn't make sense to truck it over to Boise.
So it should reduce the net trucks on the roads,
Overall, yes.
theoretically.
The truck miles.
Truck miles, yeah, that's the right one. So thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? No? All right, thank you, sir. And then the last person on here was Mr. Bauer, who's the applicant, so I already got you, so. All right. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak on this, on this application? Just raise your hand and we can come forward. And there's no one online, I'm assuming? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to staff for any additional follow-up questions from the commission. Do you have any questions? Nope. All right. We'll go ahead. Go ahead and turn it back over to the applicant for any kind of rebuttal if you have any additional follow-up or anything. Just again, name and address. And this time you'll have 5 minutes.
Chairman Scott, thank you. Jeff Bauer, 601 West Bannock. Just here to answer one question that came up from Commissioner Wickstrom. We hope to have this site operational by the summer of 2026 to begin serving Avamore and starting that road project. And with that, I'd stand for any questions.
Any additional questions? Nope. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm now ready to close the public testimony portion of this meeting with respect to this project, and I'll open up the floor to one of my fellow commissioners. I'd like to see a motion in favor or against this project, and then we can discuss.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Is there?
I apologize, I believe Amelia had one.
Chairman Scott,
sorry.
I'd just like to enter the applicant's presentation as exhibit number 36.
Okay, all right,
And-
thank you.
And for the commission's convenience, can you put the slide up that has the condition for ACHD? So whoever's making the motion,
Yeah, you can add that to it.
and, well, it can decide if they want to.
Yeah, or, yeah.
So looking at the,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the bottom one on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that would be number 33?
22.
Brought my other glasses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained herein and testimony from the public hearing, the commission approves project 2025-01921-CU-MSP, subject to conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the master site plan stamped October 14, 2025, with the addition of condition 22, where the applicant and/or owner shall comply with the Ada County Highway District site-specific conditions prior to operation.
Thank you, Commissioner Wickstrom. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Blitman has seconded. Commissioner Wickstrom, do you want to speak to your motion?
Thank you. Yes, just briefly, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're dealing with a very experienced operator. Premier's been here for a long time. They've got a lot of mine or pits in the area. We get to review it in 2.5 years if things aren't working out. And if there's any complaints, there's excessive traffic or whatever it might be. And there's lots of conditions in here that are still to be met, but everything from reclamation plans and a bond requirement and a fire plan, parking, et cetera, et cetera. So there's, all the bases seem to be covered to make sure this goes well.
Perfect. Commissioner Blitman?
We're finding gravel near where we're building roads, so they don't have to transport it as far.
All the way out in Gowan.
Yeah.
Drive across.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, I've got
Get
stuck.
it off that road right in front of my house, you know?
I go to Emmett quite a bit, and coming south, I get stuck behind the Premier trucks going up the hill, so I don't have to have fewer of those.
Yeah.
Any additional questions or comments? Commissioner Birch?
So the waiver of the landscaping requirement is already included in what we're approving here. We don't need to add that?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional? All right. Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Wickstrom's motion say aye.
Aye.
I also say aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your work on this project. Next up, we have item number 3, which is 2025-01865-CU-MSP. This is John Hoxie with Mr. Holtum providing the staff report. While I'm sitting here, if I forget your name, I apologize. I was in San Francisco yesterday, so I'm a bit tired. I'm young, he says.
Planning and Zoning Commission, project number 2025-01865-CU-MSP is a conditional use in a master site plan to allow for a quasi-public use of parking for wildland fire trucks during the winter months. No structures are proposed for this application. The property is located at 3303 South Raymond Street, and it is within the Estate Residential District. The property is approximately .98 acres, and it is within the Home Acres Number 9 subdivision. The property is also within the Boise Airport Influence Area B. The property is within Boise's area of impact and abuts Boise city limits, which are to the east. The uses for the general area are residential and industrial. There's an existing single-family dwelling and a detached accessory structure on the site. Access to the site will be via South Raymond Street, and the proposed parking spaces meet the minimum requirements from the Ada County Code. Ada County Code does not provide a required number of parking spaces for quasi-public uses. The two-way drive aisle also complies with Ada County Code requirements. A landscaping plan has been deferred, but a lighting plan has been submitted and it meets the requirements of Ada County Code. Some agency comments provided were, the Ada County engineer commented that if improving the parking lot surface, a grading application will be required. The Boise Airport commented that standard conditions of approval are contingent upon an navigation easement for the entire property. The Boise Project Board of Control commented that irrigation and/or drainage ditches that cross this property must remain unobstructed. Some of the key conditions of approval are the applicant and/or owner shall submit a landscaping plan that complies with Ada County Code. The applicant and/or owner shall obtain a navigation easement executed on the entire property. All lighting must be directed downward, and no visible emissions that would interfere with aircraft operations shall be allowed. Staff finds that this application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval to the commission. This presentation and the document I just handed you will be an exhibit to the record, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Holtum. Do the commissioners have any questions for staff? Commissioner Blitman?
Hi.
Hi.
We recently, you had this last minute request. If we can go back to the picture, this says that there are 13 houses in our 1 acre subdivision. Can we go back one more? I think these are all 1 acres, maybe, so there's 13 1 acre houses.
Yes, roughly.
Okay, 13. So this whole subdivision is 13 acres for 13 houses. Okay, so this is a whole acre for this one.
Yes, well, a little under, but.
Yeah. And then where does this person that just sent the letter, 6767 West Wright, can you identify them on this?
Because I received this so late, I was
know.
unable to find or look where that property actually is, but I would imagine it's somewhere around here.
Okay. And then those are ACHD streets,
Yes,
and they're just normal streets, right?
Yes.
There's nothing, they're not narrowed or, they're just
they're your
normal
standard
streets.
public streets.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Brianna says that it's this house right here that provided the comments.
On the other side?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Murphy?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Holden? How long has these vehicles, the forest fire vehicles, been parking at this site before, I guess, the complaint was lodged?
I don't have an answer to that, but I do know that there was a complaint lodged.
So you're not sure how long this has been going on at that location? No?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, we'll turn it over to the applicant. Thank you, Mr. Holtum. Please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
My name's John Hoxie. I'm at 3303 South Raymond Street in Boise. I'm sorry, I've never done this before, but to answer your question about the complaint, the vehicles have been there approximately 3 years, not quite a year ago. Received a complaint from a person that's not within the area. He actually lives over on Elder Street on that west end over there, and I'm not sure why he complained. He can't see it. There's no visible trucks visible from Raymond Street. Low impact. I have letters of recommendation from both sides of me for the property. On July 7th, I held the community meeting. There were 5 people involved, including myself. And the only question that came up was whether or not I was going to put in low-income multifamily housing, and I'm not very smart, but I said that was probably no. Other than that, everybody's been very positive about it. Here tonight is one of the members from the HOA, who's also my neighbor, to speak if you have any other questions in those regards. Other than that, I don't know what else to tell you.
Are there any questions of the applicant? Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr.
Rowley.
Chairman.
There you go.
Mr. Huxley, can you kind of, for our benefit, I think I understand it reading the staff report, but describe over a year how, when the trucks are parked there, when they typically leave for firefighting season, when they come back, are they in and out on a daily basis, or is it a one-time move and a one-time return? Can you describe that process? Thank you.
Yes, sir. So the typical year, and obviously you guys are all familiar with wildland fire, can vary a bit. Generally, our season starts at the end of May, goes through to the beginning of November, give or take. The trucks are parked there all the time, except when they're gone, which I understand makes sense. But so between May and November, they will leave, and generally they're gone between 16 and 21 days at a time. So there isn't a lot of traffic. They leave, they go. There's no equipment laying around, that type of thing. There's not a bunch of stuff in the front yard or anything like that. So when we get dispatched, we go to the forest fires. I'll get a phone call from the Boise Interagency Dispatch Center, which is down by the airport. I get the call. I call the crew. There's 3 people on each truck, and they will come in. About a third of them have their own vehicles that they'll leave there, so that the vehicle that they have parks in the same spot where the vehicle, the fire engine is parked, so they just pull in there. They leave that, they get on the engine, they go through, and then there's a process to go where they're going. But there's not a lot of truck traffic. I don't do maintenance myself at all, but not at that location. There's no late night stuff. Sometimes if they get back late, 9 or 10 o'clock at night, they'll come in and they'll park. I guess you could say that was late, but the Forest Service doesn't, they can't say no, but they don't recommend traveling after 10 p.m. So we don't generally get home late, and we may leave early. Sometimes it's a 6:30, 7 o'clock dispatch, so we'll have to leave early in the morning. But again, it's 1 or 2 cars in, 1 truck out. It's I don't believe it's overly imposing on my neighbors. And then in the winter, so after about November, they're parked and they sit there unless there's maintenance to do on them, and then they'll go off to the Boise truck or wherever I take them for some kind of maintenance.
Thank you.
And that's about it.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Birch?
Mr. Hoxie, you had mentioned that there is somebody that has raised issues that lives over on Elder Street. Is that the same person that sent in this email, Linda and Gary? Is it Frazee?
It's not the same person. No,
Okay.
sir.
So if I could, I just some of these things seem obvious where I may be incorrect, but I don't think would be an issue saying, yeah, we agree with that. We'll skip over the landscaping and screening for a minute, but you had already mentioned that the personal vehicles would be parked on the site, probably, not on the street.
Correct.
I don't know how you could prohibit people from parking on the street, but that is not what's expected. You would advise people that are coming, park inside on that lot, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that shouldn't be a big issue. And then they have no live fire training or burning on site. That's never going to happen, right?
No, sir.
And then they say they want the road to be prepared so mud and debris is not tracked out onto Raymond Street. And I think I get what they're saying. They want it to be such that when those big trucks are coming out, that they're not slinging mud and whatnot onto Raymond. How is that going to be dealt with?
So the landscape at the location is not mud. There's no mud or anything like that at the house. It's covered with, before I bought it, it was covered with wood chips, big wood chips.
Okay.
So, and it's still in that condition, which keeps it dry in the winter and no mud, keeps the dust down.
So even with the large fire trucks there, you're not going to be sinking down in and picking up mud that would be thrown out?
Correct, yes, sir. And just to clarify the trucks, you said there are 3 of the larger BLM size trucks, but the rest are just Ford, flatbed Fords that have bins on the back.
Okay.
They're not the giant, if you're.
Yeah,
picture-
exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, if you're picturing like city fire, it's not like that. They're just Ford trucks.
Okay. And then coming to the landscaping, they said they would like landscaping and screening of the property from Raymond Street. What would be involved in that? Are you planning on doing anything like that? Have you asked for a waiver of the landscaping requirement? Is that what I understood? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, these people are saying, this is our home, we don't want to be looking out at the trucks that are over there. Help me out here with that.
Sure. So I haven't actually seen that. That's the first I've heard about this letter was tonight. But the trucks are parked behind the house, and you can't see them from Raymond Street at all. There's a lot of trees. If you look on the picture here, you can see that the majority of the property has those big trees. Those are great big trees right there. So there's nothing behind the house that you can really see from Raymond Street as it is now. I would like to, I do plan to put in some, plants in the front. So there's no irrigation there. I have an irrigation ditch that runs through there, but there's no pressurized irrigation or anything like that. So landscaping's been difficult. I've owned the house for 3 years. I've been cleaning up since I got it, but I haven't got to like flowers and stuff like that yet. But I don't believe, and you could ask one of the Justine Love behind me. She's, a neighbor. But I don't believe you can see any of the trucks at all from the street as is.
Okay, and that's helpful. So the obvious things, other than the landscaping that we've already talked about, you would have no issue saying you're not going to be conducting fire training and burning, and you're not going to, you're going to advise the people that are coming there to get onto the trucks to park their personal vehicles on the site instead of on the road. You wouldn't have
Absolutely.
any issue
No, sir.
saying this is what we will do. Okay, that's all. Mr. Hoxie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when a crew comes to pick up a truck, you said there's 3 men or 3 people per truck. So you have 11 trucks. If you've got 3 people come for every truck and they're not carpooling, you're going to have potentially 25, 30 cars left there when they take these trucks out?
So there's only 6 engines. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the application said they're for up to 11 trucks.
Oh, okay. I only own 6, and I'm definitely downsizing before I upsize.
Then 18, potentially 18 cars there. If you have-
Potentially, yes, sir. But they would all fit in the back. I do have plenty of open space. That whole front of the house area is open space. Before I got it, they had a double-wide trailer out in the front of the house, and which has been removed. So there's lots of just open space right there in the front. There would be no need to park in the street or anything like that. It would be potentially arguably unsightly, but that, in the 3 years I've been there, that's never been a problem.
So, follow up with Mr. Chairman. So in the past, you have had to park cars in the front yard, or does everybody park in the back?
No, on occasion, not very often, we have put cars in the front. If the fire season gets super busy and they call for all the trucks, there could be, but it's darn rare, unfortunately, so.
And then, last question, Mr. Chairman. So what is your relationship then with the fire district, or are you?
So I have a contract with the government, and then it's administered by the Forest Service, but it's across all government agencies to provide forest fire equipment. So it's primarily those trucks with the crews. And they dispatch, so the National Interagency Fire Center, NIFC, is over by the airport, and they coordinate for our region dispatching. So those trucks could get dispatched. You know, last year we had some fires up at Cascade, so we went there. We've been to, we go to California quite a bit. This last season, we were in Wyoming and Colorado quite a bit. But that NIFC, that Boise Interagency Fire Center, and the National Interagency Fire Center, both co-located over at the airport, they coordinate all of that through the government and send us wherever they want.
And, yeah, so your job is to provide trucks and men to people to
Correct.
go out?
The trucks are required to be staffed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Blitman?
You live at this house?
I don't live there. I have another, my residence is just down the street, about 2 miles away.
Is there somebody living in the house?
No, I rented it for a while, and that, renting to firefighters isn't a great idea, unfortunately. So I just go there every day and work there. Essentially, I have a computer that I do contract. Right this time of year, it's all contractual agreements and that type of stuff, so I sit there.
So what's the maximum number of parking spots that you would need, like during the summer?
The maximum, if you don't count me, would be 6 trucks times 3, so 18.
18. And then I wonder if, can you make sure that he has a copy of this so that he can look at that while we're having other conversations? The email that we just got, you said that you hadn't received it?
I hadn't. I think Justine has a copy of it that
Okay.
I could read. She mentioned that they wrote in and support, other than as long as I don't park on the street, but
Any additional questions? All right, thank you very
In
much.
true transparency, I have some questions for staff about parking. So I'll ask my questions to them and then you can respond.
yes, ma'am.
So,
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the public. Is there anyone in the room? I don't have anyone that signed up on here, but is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in favor or against this? All right, seeing nobody, we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff.
I think Justine raised her hand.
Oh, did she? I'm sorry, did you raise your hand? That's okay. Yeah, you can go ahead, come on forward, it's fine. Please give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Justine Hatton, 3325 South Raymond Street, Boise, Idaho, 83709. So I am where it says 3325. I don't know what that 3329 is on my property as well. I don't know why it has an extra address. So that whole corner is my property there, so right next to his. And he has been a great neighbor. You can go talk to him about anything if you have a problem with anything or with his trucks or people or whatever. You can always go over there or call him or text him or whatever, and he's very accommodating. You would never know that he has a fire trucks parked in the back, like he was saying, all the big trees there. You wouldn't even know it, and he parks all the stuff in the back. Occasionally, there are a few cars parked in the front It's not like a front yard, it's, like a little parking area off in the front there. And occasionally there's a couple of cars there, but not very often. Most people park in the back. So you really don't, you just think it's a house and he's got birds and you would never know that there's the trucks back there. I can't even see them from my house either.
Any questions?
Just one.
Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming down. We don't enforce HOA standards or anything like that here, but in your HOA, is there any restrictions on having cars parked in the front yards, having a certain number of cars parked on a property, anything in your
Yeah,
HOA that restricts?
we're in the county, so we don't have it. There isn't an HOA.
Oh, I thought you were the HOA president. That's
No.
Oh, okay. So
No, I do the water.
okay.
Our irrigation,
I thought
but, yeah, not the,
that you were the HOA. You're the water president. Okay.
yeah,
All right. That's then my question doesn't work.
of our
Thanks.
irrigation.
Any additional questions? Yeah, Commissioner Blipman?
If you're the water person, can you comment on the irrigation water issue about the water going across the property, or is that something different?
He has an irrigation, our irrigation ditch runs through his property. It's accessible. There's never anything there blocking access to the ditch. The ditch is in the front yard, not in the back. It goes underground in the back. So, the trucks, it runs like pretty much through the middle of his property. So the trucks are that go in and out are way away from the ditch on the other side.
So from your perspective, when you've needed to go attend to the irrigation ditch, I know they get trash and backed up and you got to keep them clean in order for the water to run. In your experience being next door, you've been able to go and do the things you needed to do to get your irrigation water.
Correct. The filter,
Yeah.
to get the leaves and stuff is, I don't know, 3 steps off of Raymond Street. It's not that far off of his property, into his property. Might even only be 2. It's real close to Raymond Street.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate your information.
Questions? Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to testify? All right, seeing nobody, I'll go ahead and turn this back over to staff for any follow-up questions from the commissioners. Commissioner Blipman, I know you had a bunch.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to follow up on the parking, which other people brought up too, so it's not just me. So if this fell under like a contractor's yard, which kind of feels like what it is, how much parking would they have to have?
That is a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but for this quasi-public use, there aren't minimums or maximums for parking. But if someone wants to help me out.
Mr. Chairman, is the amount of parking related to how big the structure is?
It depends on the use.
I guess that this is, I don't remember one coming through like this, where we haven't been like, this is how many prescribed spots we have. Because really what they're asking for is 18 spots. And I want to make sure that we could figure out what they need and get it papered right so that there's no problem going down the road. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, for the contractor's yard or shop, and I should preface this with Doug, this is under our old code?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just looking at the older code, not the new one. Contractor's yard or shop, it has 1 space per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area plus 1 per employee.
That's the minimum though, right?
That's the minimum requirement, yeah.
And the house is 1,300 square feet, so that would be about 3 spaces required.
So, I mean, but there's no maximum.
But there's 18 employees.
It's not his employees.
And they're not working on the site.
Mr. Chairman, they would be employees if they're being called up and they're paid by him through his.
They're not. He's a contractor paid by the federal government.
but the money flows through him to his workers.
Are they, I guess, are they firefighters that come through? They're
Like,
not.
he's gonna have to come,
you'll
yeah,
have to come
answer,
back. Well,
yeah.
You'll have a rebuttal in just a
Mr. Chair,
good question we can ask.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for Mr. Holton. What is the Ada County code for parking spaces for fire departments?
I don't believe we have one.
And I think that's where we get into the quasi, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
it's kind of a special case, it seems. Okay, thank you.
Any additional, Commissioner Birch?
Mr. Holton, with respect to this conditional use permit that's being requested, is this basically a permanent approval, or is it one that within a certain period of time would be subject to re-review by this Planning and Zoning Commission?
I believe it's permanent.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff? All right. That being said, we'll go ahead and bring the applicant back forward for rebuttal so you can answer any additional questions we may have.
I was just going to be available if you had more questions about the parking.
I mean, I'm assuming the people that you contract to be with the fire equipment are employees of yours.
They are employees, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
My company and I are contracted with the Forest Service.
So then you hire people to go out in the trucks.
Correct. And for the parking, to expand just a little bit, 2 regular cars will fit in each of the parking spots for those trucks because the spots are bigger than the trucks need. So I can put 2 in there. And again, it's pretty seldom that there would be more than 2 out of the 3 would even have a vehicle, let alone leave it there. Usually they show up, somebody brings them and drops them off because that car needs to go back with wives, girlfriends, families for them to use. So it's not often I have a lot of cars there. And if they are there, they're very neatly parked, if I may say so.
Are there any additional questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman?
Murphy?
Mr. Hoxie, just a couple questions. So just to clarify, so you have basically brush trucks?
Correct.
And then also, do you have any of the tankers that are like on a 5-ton chassis or something like that?
Right, the water tenders, no, sir.
Okay, so are they all the brush trucks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you hit the siren when you leave?
We don't have sirens or lights, sir.
Okay, well, that's helpful.
Only hazard lights.
That's helpful.
They'd run stoplights if I gave them lights.
Right. And then just looking at Mrs. and Mr. Frazie's comment, because, it's important to look at this. Have any of your trucks hit their fence down at the bottom?
No, sir.
At the bottom of, okay.
We don't travel around the corner there. If you look, it's actually a dead-end street, and there's no real turnaround other than in the last person's, I forget his name, but it's his driveway. That's the only turnaround there, so we would never go around the corner.
Okay. And then, let's see, what else did she say? I think that was the main thing. She mentioned plowed in the winter and turning around. Oh, has anybody complained from the public about landscaping or unsightliness that we know of?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions?
So if I look,
Drum?
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. If I look at the math, because I'm a math person, there's 11 spots. If you can fit 2 vehicles in every spot when they're there, then that would be 22 spots. And since there's no requirements, I would feel okay if that was your position, that you were going to double park
Absolutely, yeah.
vehicles in those spots. That would make me feel like we've done something that shows how we can get the 18 and then 19 vehicles counting you on the property.
Sure. And a regular car is much smaller width-wise, too, so you'd have more rows
Yeah.
if required, which it hasn't been yet.
So thank you for bearing with me.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking at the map there's really, look and see how you're going to affect other people, and you've got your next door neighbor. The one house that's just to the west, where your lot is pretty close to the actual house, there to the lower left. Any comments from them? Any?
You would never know there was a house there. It's about a 40-foot high, too dense to see through any of it hedge. There might be actually a picture. I'm not.
Well, you can see the big hedge.
Yeah, so you can, you're talking about that house right there on the left, I
It was
believe.
on Wright Street, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that there's that giant hedge right there.
Okay.
I would never, from standing at the property line right there, I still couldn't see the house that's over there, or the.
Yeah, I was looking on your side of the property. I didn't see on their side. They've got.
Right.
Okay, that's where it is. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's super dense, they can't see, and other than their chickens getting through, it's no problem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, I'll go ahead and close the public testimony with regards to this application. And I'll look to one of my fellow commissioners for a motion for or against the applicant. Commissioner Birch.
Based upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained in the staff report and the testimony from this public hearing, this commission approves project number 202-501-865-CU-MSP, subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the master site plan, and subject to the additional conditions that personal vehicles of crews should be parked in the rear or screened locations and not on the street whenever fire equipment is deployed. There shall be no live fire training or burning on site. And in the event that mud or debris is tracked onto Raymond Street, there should be preparation to avoid that continuing. And further, that anyone accessing the site shall be advised that personal vehicles should not be parked on the street.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Rowley has seconded. Commissioner Birch, do you want to speak to your motion?
I see no objection to what is being proposed. The only party that has raised concerns are the ones that we have just added conditions to. They've also mentioned something about the landscaping, but I think Mr. Hoxie has adequately explained what's going on there. And so, based on that, I mean, happy to see something where you've got ready access to the fire equipment, given what happens around here during fire season.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch. Commissioner Rowley?
Nothing more to add. I concur with Commissioner Birch's comments.
Is there any additional comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
Commissioner Birch, could you just read your first added conditions, just to hear them again, about the parts about the parking, just so I can.
Sure, and I'm just reading from what
It was
was,
your first couple within the first two.
the first was, personal vehicles of crews should be parked in rear or screened locations and not on the street whenever fire equipment is deployed.
Okay.
That was the first one. The second one is, no live fire training or burning shall be on site. And then the final one, the next one is that in the event that mud or debris is tracked onto Raymond Street, that effort shall be taken to avoid that occurring in the future. And then the final one is that people accessing the site shall be advised that they are not to park on the street.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional comments? I do have one question on yours. So when he brought forward his discussion on it, he said sometimes they do park in the front yard. Are you saying they're not allowed to park in the front yard because that's not considered screened? I know it's not the yard technically. I'm just saying kind of, and I fully agree with the no street thing. Although I do say that that's a condition we're not putting on anyone else in this area, but I get it, it's a business. But I'm saying, are you including the front yard as well in that?
Well, read technically, yes, that would be the case, but as a practical matter, if somebody did park in the front and there was an objection to it, by the time anything would be done about it, it would be rectified because they wouldn't be being parked there for long enough for it to come up. And so it's one of those things where it may happen occasionally. If it happened all the time, then I think that, in this case, the Frazie's or anybody else that would be impacted by this could come up and say this is absolutely a violation of the condition. But if it happened on rare occasions, then it'd be fixed, as I said, before any action would ever be taken.
That being said, we'll go ahead and, anyone else? We'll go ahead and bring this to a vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Birch's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say no. All right, seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone, for your time on this. We'll go ahead and move to item number 202501845-CC-S-DA. This is Rodney Evans and Partners. And we'll look to Mr. Holtum again for his first staff report.
All righty. Planning and Zoning Commission, project number 202501845-ZC-DA-S is an application for a zoning ordinance map amendment to rezone the property from rural residential to the rural urban transition district, a development agreement and a preliminary plat to allow for 2 5-acre lots. The property is located at 13400 South 5 Mile Road and contains approximately 10.12 acres. Surrounding properties are largely residential and agricultural in use. The property is located within CUNA's area of impact. The future land use map of the CUNA Comprehensive Plan, as adopted by Ada County, designates the property as a low-density residential, which makes this proposal compatible with the CUNA Comprehensive Plan as adopted by Ada County. This slide shows the proposed preliminary plat for the Ned Ventoso subdivision, which features 2 5-acre lots. This proposed subdivision complies with the dimensional standards for the rural urban transition district. Access to Lot 1 will come from West Ventoso Lane, which is to the south, and access for Lot 2 will come from Ned Pepper Lane, which is to the north, or South 5 Mile Road pending ACHD approval. Some of the agency comments received were, the Ada County building official has no objections to this proposal. A retroactive building permit may be required for unpermitted structures over 200 square feet. A building permit will be required for all new structures over 200 square feet. The Ada County engineer commented that the project is within a nitrate priority area. New domestic wells will likely need to be 380 feet deep in this area. New domestic wells should be tested for arsenic, uranium, and nitrates, along with the typical well testing. These results should be reported to the county engineer. A memo to the county engineer should address if irrigation will be available to serve the lots, and if so, identify if it is gravity or pressurized, and identify how the land use change will not impact irrigation water users that have a right to water that historically passes through this site. The Ada County Highway District commented that 5 Mile Road abuts the site, and it is listed as a future 3-lane arterial. The owner and/or applicant shall dedicate right-of-way on 5 Mile Road totaling 39 feet from the center line. Central District Health commented that a land development application, a fee per lot, test holes, and a full engineering report is required. No neighborhood comments were received. And some of the key conditions of approval are, the owner and/or applicant shall submit a land development application, fee per lot, test holes, and a full engineering report to the Central District Health Department. Access for Lot 1 shall come from West Ventoso Lane. Access for Lot 2 shall come from either Ned Pepper Lane or 5 Mile Road. The owner and/or applicant shall dedicate right-of-way on 5 Mile Road totaling 39 feet from the center line. The owner and/or applicant shall test new domestic wells for arsenic, uranium, nitrates, along with typical well testing, and these results shall be reported to the county engineer. The owner and/or applicant shall submit a letter, memo, or email addressing the following. Identify if irrigation water will be available to serve the lots, and if so, identify whether it will be gravity or pressurized. Identify how the development will continue to adhere to Idaho Code 42-1207, specifically how the land use change will not impact irrigation water users that have a right to water that historically passes through the site. Staff finds that this application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval to the commission. This presentation will be an exhibit to the record, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Holton. Do the commissioners have any questions of staff? Commissioner Rowley?
Is there any irrigation presently passing through the site?
That is a good question.
Applicant might be able to answer that.
Yeah, they might be able to answer that better than I could, but I don't see anything from the Boise CUNA Irrigation District mentioning anything like that.
Any additional questions of staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Holton. We'll go ahead and invite the applicant forward. Please state your name and address, and you'll have, excuse me, you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Ben Semple with Rodney Evans and Partners, 1450 West Bannock Street, Boise 83702. We are in agreement with the conditions of approval that are contained in the staff report. All the agency comments that we've received, we will comply with. And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rowley, just to touch on yours, there is no existing gravity irrigation that crosses the site. There's nothing that currently irrigates the site. It's irrigated with a well. When this gets split, there will be another well drilled, and that would be used to irrigate the new lot. The existing lot will continue to irrigate off of their well, and it would comply with code for half acre or less of irrigable area off of that well, or those wells. And we'll comply with all the testing. I don't have a whole lot additional to add on this application. My client is the owner, lives on the property, will continue to live on the property in the existing home, and is looking to split this to be able to sell another 5-acre parcel for another single-family home in Ada County.
Any additional questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to the public. Is there anyone in here that has any comments or wishes to testify? All right, thank you so much there. Go ahead and turn it back over to staff then for any additional questions from the commission or any additions you may have. None? Would you like to come forward for any kind of rebuttal?
Not necessary, thank you.
Okay. With that being said, we'll go ahead and close the public testimony portion of this application, and I'll open up to one of my fellow commissioners for a motion in favor or against.
I can do it.
Commissioner Blitman.
Based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained therein and the testimony from the public hearing, I move that the commission recommends approval to the Ada County Board of Commissioners for the project number 2025-01845-ZC-DA-S, subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the preliminary plat dated August 28th, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioner Blitman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Murphy has seconded. Commissioner Blitman, do you want to speak on your motion?
Yeah, this is out in that area of Ada County. There's a lot of 1 acre subdivision, 1 acre lots just to the, I guess, west of this, and a lot of 2 acres near it, 2.5 acre, 5 acres near it. So it makes total sense to split this and sell it for another single family house, and I approve it. I move to approve it.
Commissioner Murphy, you have anything to add?
No comment.
Anyone else have anything they want to add to this? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and vote on Commissioner Blitman's motion. All those in favor of Commissioner Blitman's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Also say aye. All those opposed say no. All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone who is participated in that. Looks like next up we have other business, which is a presentation by Compass.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I think we'll take a second while we get, I think I've got a presentation that should be up.
Who did you send it to? Did you send it to them? Do you have it?
She said it was pulled up.
Yeah, and once we have it up, I'll check. Apologies for the orientation here. First time doing this with in this room, so. Okay, that looks right. Great, okay, thank you. Okay, so my name's Craig Rayborn. I'm the relatively new executive director for Compass. I've been in this role for just approaching 10 months now. One of the things that we do every year is we go and we meet with all of our member agencies, with staff primarily at our member agencies, just to kind of go through the services that we provide for the agencies, and then hear the concerns and needs from each of our members. I'll talk a little bit more about what we heard when we had that meeting about a month ago. But because I'm new, I've been making a point of trying to go around and meet with as many of the local officials myself as I can, so that you all get to know me and my availability. And a little bit about me, and at the same time, I'll give an update on what Compass is and some of the issues that we're seeing the region facing as a whole. So, yes, the clicker works, always a good sign. So just a bit about me. I've been doing transportation and regional planning and policy type issues for about 25 years now. I've worked primarily in the West, Las Vegas area in Arizona, and then in the South in Houston. And so I've dealt quite a bit with regions that are similar to this, sort of rapidly growing regions that have a combination of a large urban area and sort of fringe communities, with all of the pressures that surround those types of issues. So, yeah, here we go. So just a brief reminder about what Compass is, and I apologize, I'm going to keep turning to the sides, so I don't have the slides memorized, so I'll keep turning away every once in a while. But just a brief reminder about what Compass is. So we're an association of cities, counties, highway districts, and all the other types of governing or of local agencies that do long-range planning. We look primarily at transportation, but we're here to try to solve the needs of the future. But the really important thing about Compass is that we are our members. And so it's, our board is made up of local elected officials or some appointed officials from some of the agencies. All three of Ada County commissioners are on our board and actively participate. Chair Beck is our chair-elect, so he'll become the chair starting in January for Compass, and he's also therefore on our executive committee and our finance committee, so he helps oversee my role as well as the finances for Compass too. So overall, the mission of Compass is to conduct regional planning, facilitate coordination, cooperation for all the member agencies. We serve as a source of information and hopefully expertise on all types of issues around growth and transportation issues in in the region. And so when I say the region, by the way, I mean Ada and Canyon County are both part of what we call the Metropolitan Planning Organization. Boise County just joined Compass last December, and so they're now a member of Compass. They're not part of the Transportation Planning Agency side, but we still provide them with data services and other types of activities. And that's sort of that last part of our mission is assisting member agencies and sort of accessing the resources that it takes to try to meet their needs as well as the region's identified needs overall. So to do that, Compass undertakes extensive transportation planning activities. We work with all of the local agencies that have any kind of transportation infrastructure for that. We distribute all the federal transportation dollars that come through the region, come through Compass in one way or another, either directly through programming activities, project selection programming activities that we undertake, but also if it's a funding source, for example, that the Department of Transportation operates or that goes to the Department of Transportation, because it's in this region and we're the agency that works with all the local governments. Those are still required to go through our planning process as well, but we've got it worked out. It's a fairly smooth process. We also provide that technical expertise I was talking about, and then we facilitate that cooperation and continuous planning process throughout the year. So I'm going to spend a few slides just talking about some of the issues that the region as a whole is facing. So what this map is showing, this is a heat map showing the development permits that have been approved in Ada and Canyon counties over the past 5 years. And you can see they're distributed all over the region, all over the urbanized area of the region, but also along the fringe areas as well. Our region's population is forecast to grow. Right now, we're roughly 850,000 rather, forecast to grow by 2055 to 1.3 million. It's pretty significant growth. It's happening very rapidly, and that's translating to about 16 new households, 15 new households a day and 16 new jobs a day on average. Obviously, it varies, but that's the general pattern that we're seeing. So what that also looks like, so this map is showing population density in the brown. So obviously, the darker the brown, the higher the density of the population is right now. And then the blue is showing the same thing, but it's only showing the higher density employment centers or jobs. It's not showing low density retail type jobs because we're really looking at what triggers the commutes for folks. So this is 2025, and this is what 2055 is going to look like. So there's a tremendous amount of infill happening and densification happening in places that are in the lighter shade. So I'll go back and forth a couple times just so you can see it. So pretty significant changes happening, and what we're doing is working with the agencies that have that transportation infrastructure to come up with the best plans. We primarily focus on the boundary issues. We ourselves don't own or operate any transportation facilities, but we're the agency that has all the data that they can use to try to make the best long-range plans. Another one of the interesting trends that we're facing is the sort of the gradual migration to the west of the center of population in the region. And so you can kind of see this is downtown Meridian, basically. It's right where our offices are located. But the interesting thing is the red dots are showing the job density or the centroid, the center of all of the jobs in the region. And then the purple and the gray, or purple and green, are showing the centers of households and just population as a whole. You can see they're shifting gradually to the west, and then about 30 years or so from now, they start to shift to the north from that. And that's just the growth pattern that's been identified, that we're, the path that we're on right now. And as the slide notes, that gap between the center of the jobs and the center of the population, when you add that up across 850,000 people, that travel between those two distances is what creates most of the traffic that we have in the region. So that 2 to 3 miles spread across 850,000 folks adds up. The growing population then increases the impact of that distance as those volumes of traffic then increase. And then the drift to the west is changing the overall pattern of transportation in the region, and so it's moving the areas with the higher traffic gradually to the west. Frankly, it's keeping what we have, high traffic roads right now, and then adding more to the west as the population levels are increasing. So just a bit about what Compass is and sort of what our role has been. So we provide to our member agencies a seat at the table where those transportation planning decisions are made. We're a voice outside of the region. So our team, so I'm joined today by Amy Left, our communications team lead. She's active with the AMPO, and as am I. AMPO is the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, and I'm active. We're all active. I mean, we're all engaged with both of these organizations, but I'm on the Executive Directors Council for the National Association of Regional Councils. What that gives us the opportunity to do is both learn from our peers, but also represent this region's needs in a lot of the national dialogue that's happening around regional planning issues and transportation planning issues. As I noted, also, we work very hard on providing financial assistance so our member agencies can hopefully get the resources that it takes to address their needs. Technical assistance, pretty significant amount of effort for us goes into that on behalf of our members. Demographics and analysis, I've shown some of that already, but we do that on an ongoing, regular basis in really close partnership with the member agencies around the region. And all of those kind of roll up then into long-range planning and problem solving that we undertake. And some of those regional plans that we work on or have been working on are, just as I started about 10 months ago, we adopted a regional safety action plan. It was an important step because it made most safety projects, safety projects intended to improve safety around the region, it made them eligible to seek a new pot of money that they wouldn't otherwise be eligible to pursue. And so with that, we're hopefully able to step in and assist in seeking those funds. The high capacity transit study or plan that's been underway for about 2 years now. I know it's happened in the past, but it continues to advance. There's no dollars attached to implementing anything right now, but by completing this plan, and it'll be done early next year and hopefully adopted by the Compass board. By completing that plan, it'll make us able to start pursuing new funding sources that could then be utilized to implement a plan like that. We undertake a bunch of connectivity studies, primarily in the rapidly growing areas. So 2 that we have underway right now that I would note: the State Highway 69 extension study that we have underway. We also are just, in the past couple of days, we've been kicking off a new study with the Transportation Department and ACHD to examine a southern connector of some type and some of the potential for there, and put some data behind what I think a lot of people think is an important next or future step at least. And then we're doing a similar study as well that I'll just note in Northwest Canyon County as well, trying to look at sort of around Middleton and Star and some way to improve the mobility up there too. All of those plans kind of roll up into this regional transportation plan that we that we update every 5 years. The version that we're on right now is called Communities in Motion 2050. We're working on Communities in Motion 2055, and we'll have that done in a couple years. And by the time that's done, we'll already be back into the cycle of making the next one after that, because it's a long process, very data-driven with a significant amount of public involvement and engagement as well. So that plan establishes 4 different sort of broad vision elements or regional goals. So the first one is improving transportation safety, enhancing economic vitality, supporting quality of life for the region, and then maintaining just the convenience of the transportation system as a whole for the users. And each one of these are the broad goals. Each one of them has specific performance measures that are embedded in those as well that we're working to achieve. And so one of the things that we do, there are a couple ways that the plan, sort of plays a role. One of the things that we do are these development review processes, these development review checklists that we do. So basically, larger projects around the region. So right now our threshold is 100 new rooftops, or I think it's 100,000 square feet of commercial or retail space. We work with planning agencies to review those and assess their consistency with the regional goals, and basically put together this one-page score sheet that we then provide to them. It's informational only. There's no regulatory element to it whatsoever, but it's intended to help the decision makers like you understand how these individual projects fit into the broader regional context. And I'll just note, countywide, we've done hundreds of these over the past 5 to 10 years in the unincorporated part of Ada County. Because of the scale of most of the development, I think we've done somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 over the last maybe 5 years or so. The other thing that the Regional Transportation Plan has is all of the federally funded transportation projects, all of the transportation projects that are happening on major facilities. So the ones that sort of can have a regional impact are all included in the Regional Transportation Plan. You can kind of see the types of projects that this includes, but it's basically any kind of transportation project that we can see a need for in the future, we try to identify in the Regional Transportation Plan. All of these add up right now to just over $11 billion of projects that we can reasonably foresee funding being available using existing sources over the next 20 to 30 years. We don't know exactly when some of them would happen. We know broad sweeps. This one's 30 years out and this one's 10 years out. But we're able to identify them, and by having them included now, we can continue, the project sponsors can continue to develop the projects and get them ready to implement when they are finally ready to actually move forward. So I'll just use a couple of slides to talk about what that $11 billion turns into in a region that's growing, more than 50% over the next 20 to 30 years. So this is what the roads look like in the region right now. And so basically, the heavier, wider the line is, the worse the peak hour congestion on that segment of road is. So this is what we have right now. This is what the region would look like without the $11 billion of improvements that would be happening. But because the region is growing so rapidly, even with those improvements, the conditions are still significantly degraded. Take any transportation system and add 50% to that's already kind of at its limit in a lot of places, and add 50% more use to it, even with a tremendous amount of improvements. Unless you're adding 50% more ability to absorb that usage, it's still going to develop some degradation. So with that, and I'll also just note, that one of the measures we use as sort of easier to communicate to people is a benchmark of the travel time from downtown Caldwell to downtown Boise. And you can see with this table how that's changed over time. And so you can see, like, way back in 2006, that travel time at that time was about 50 minutes. And as a result of that, the region, significant investments were made primarily to 84, because the forecast was that was going to be 2 hours without any further work, because everyone's growing, right? And so with those improvements, that travel time went down to in the low 30s, and it's kind of held there for a while. The most recent right now is about 30 minutes between those 2 points. But even with the projects that are listed in the regional transportation plan, it'll still go up about 50% over the next 30 years or so. So we're always seeking ways to try to address that. So the plan also includes a large number of unfunded projects. It has about $5.1 billion of unfunded projects that we've identified too. I'm still new and kind of learning some of I haven't had a chance to get all the information yet that I want. It takes time to put some of this together, but the question I still have with that is, even with the $5.1 billion, I doubt that would get us back to the clear, small, thin lines on that one map I just showed, as opposed to what we're facing right now. But it would make a bit of a dent. So what that translates to, though, is a shortfall every year of just under $200 million. And that's what we're sort of falling behind on right now. So as a result of that, our board has tasked me with a fairly active engagement with the state and with the legislature in this session and future sessions as well, because these things take time to try to address. It's rare it happens right away. So our board just about a month ago adopted its 2 months ago now, adopted its priorities for the upcoming legislative session. They focus on finding new sources of revenue, finding the revenue to start addressing some of these shortfalls. They focus on addressing the impacts of growth and finding ways for growth to pay for growth. And then a new one this year was the idea of linking housing and trying to find ways to support new housing projects happening on infrastructure that is currently there, as a way to better utilize the capacity that is already in the system that's not already at its limits, and hopefully then make the decisions around where new infrastructure needs to happen not be just as a response to new development, and also to find a way, by doing something like that, it can reduce the overall cost of the development and hopefully make it a bit easier to achieve some of the affordability issues that the region's starting to address. So we like to say that Compass is the place where these things happen, where we make things happen, our board and our team and our partner agencies. So most projects start by being included in our long-range plan. That's sort of the identification of the need for the project. Then Compass will work with the partner agencies, the ones that own the infrastructure, the roads that will actually end up doing the construction. We work with them to secure the funding to make those projects happen. The partner agencies build the projects. Like I said, we don't do that. And then once that's all done, then hopefully the region as a whole and the residents around the region are able to then get the benefits of what these projects can achieve. So the way that process typically starts for us is through what we call the resource development program. Those are the conversations where we go out and we meet with the local agencies and find out what the needs are, and encourage them to start the process of more formally getting those included in our planning activities, as well as seeking funds for smaller plans and smaller projects as well. So we have a small amount of money that we can allocate on an annual basis for studies and for small projects. They tend to go towards sidewalk improvements and intersections, crosswalks, things like that. But it's an important resource for a lot of our member agencies. Forgot to do the clicking on this one. Sorry about that. So some of the examples of how these things work and sort of the timelines that we look at for these. So a good one that a lot of people are aware of right now and soon to hopefully start making an impact is the Highway 16 project. It first showed up in Compass's planning way back in 2006, and it's gone through fits and starts, securing funding to keep developing the project, as well as the state DOT undertaking required environmental clearances and design and planning and property acquisition and all that kind of stuff. But we then finally secured the construction side of the funding in 2018, with construction then starting in 2022, and it's on track to be done in 2027. And everything's moving fairly well and smoothly on that right now. But it's not unusual. 20 years is actually kind of fast for a project of that scale when you think to when it goes from the start of an idea all the way to implementation. It's a still fairly impressive timeline. Another one that we, just to give an example of a smaller project that we have worked closely with, and we initially started on this one with Garden City, but it's for a new bridge along the Greenway that would cross from 52nd Street onto Plantation Island and make a connection on the southern end of that. I don't know how many users of that system we've got up here, but that's been an important interest for advocates around that project. And so we started that project with Garden City, did the initial planning for it. It's now actually being, the process is being transferred to the county, to Ada County, and they're going to lead the ongoing development and completion of that project. They've got agreements. I think Garden City agreed to their contribution to that project. They formally agreed to make that contribution at a meeting earlier this week. And so that's underway and happening. So hopefully soon there'll be a new bridge right where that park is and tie into all of that development that's been going on around there. And I think the county has a lot of interest in seeing that happen. So as I noted, we met with your team back in late October. And so what we heard in that, if I can get to that page so I can look at my notes. What we heard from that, among the needs is just more transportation infrastructure. Everyone knows we need it. All types, road, non-motorized, transit, all of those came up and were part of that discussion. Ways to support sustainable development approaches, agricultural land preservation, assistance with zoning code updates. That's something that we're able to provide some help with as well. And then improved interagency communication, specifically around the development application process. And so we're looking at ways to maybe retool the way that we look at submittals to try to provide potentially more actionable information for the decision makers. Again, we're not going to have any land use authority, but we can still provide information and sort of work our way into that checklist so that hopefully that can be a factor that the member agencies are all examining as well. And then, like I noted before, there are all sorts of ways that we can help, try to make these happen by securing funding, by helping with grant applications, coordinating outreach to those irrigation districts. That's something that we've been undertaking recently. So as part of a plan that we're working on right now to look for ways to improve the pathway connectivity and use the irrigation canals as sort of co-locations or co-locate paths on existing irrigation facilities to try to improve the non-motorized network around the region. So just to sort of move into wrapping up, in summary, you know, we are here to help our member agencies. So, you know, we plan for the future transportation system. I haven't talked, I don't include any of the depressing, included the depressing congestion information, but not the depressing transportation safety information. But that's out there too, and we work very hard at trying to address that too. We also undertake education campaigns and have developed a campaign that's called Good Moves. And so we work on promoting that, trying to encourage all the users of the transportation system to, you know, make safer decisions and behave a bit, you know, with safety in mind. We facilitate those regional discussions. We fund all types of projects. We collect, analyze, develop, understand, use, and serve up to our member agencies as well as the public all types of data. We connect local and regional planning, and so what we try to do is to consolidate what we hear from all of the different local agencies all over Ada and Canyon counties, roll those all up, and so that we have a good understanding of what is happening and is forecast and expected to happen in the region in the future. We provide free educational resources, so that Good Move campaign I just mentioned, we have a number of resources that we make freely available to our agencies and other members or other members of the public who could be interested in that too. And then every year we also recognize achievements. So the successful transportation projects around the region that have made a big impact, as well as the individual leaders around the region that are involved in transportation and are making an impact as well. So this was the abbreviated, simple, brief version of what we call Compass 101. We're going to be doing more extensive training for our board members, but it's also open to anyone else who's interested in coming. So I'd encourage if any of you, if you're interested in, you know, really getting a bit more into the weeds about what Compass does. These are roughly half-day trainings where we run through more about the how we do these things. And one of the things we'll be adding to this cycle is some type of interactive element to it. So it won't just be me or one of the team members from Compass standing up and talking, but it'll be a real opportunity for you to get a sense of what it is we do and the kinds of issues that we address, and hopefully help translate those into things that will matter more for the participants in the training. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and your interest in having me come and give the presentation. I apologize for keeping you even later. What may have already been a long meeting. I'm not sure what's typical for you guys. But I'm happy to stand and answer any questions you may have. And when I don't know the answer, because keep in mind, 10 months in the job, I've got Amy and all of her institutional knowledge to lean on, and she can help me out with if there's any real stumpers for me.
Does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Rood?
Yeah, Craig, just getting into the weeds a little bit. Years ago, I lived in the Philadelphia area, and there was a ring road proposed to the west in the suburbs. They called it the Blue Route. And you couldn't build there. I can't remember if the county to the west of Philadelphia County ultimately owned that or how it worked, but it was a no man's land. And decades passed, and people thought there will never be a highway there because the suburbs grew far past where that ring road was going to be. But by golly, ultimately, they put that thing in. Now, Compass had showed in the past 2 different ring roads to the north of the city and 2 different ring roads to the south of the city. And I think they kept changing based on how far out the suburbs were growing. So the ones to the south originally were going to come down off of 84 past Middleton, and before it made that big curve to go into Caldwell, it would go on the west side of Lake Lowell, curve around, and then go across Deer Flat. Well, that didn't work because people, unlike in Philadelphia, were allowed to build there. And so the process of condemning that would have been outrageously expensive once people put homes there. So then the next ring road, further south, was going to do basically the same thing, but connect at a little road called Murphy that would then run right up against the hills on the very south end of Cuna. And there would be connectors to the major arterials like McDermott. But I don't see that happening either, because both Canyon County and Ada County are pushing further and further to the south. So how does Compass facilitate having that happen, or is it beyond Compass's control? Like in the Philadelphia area, presumably there were enough governmental bodies on board to say, we're going to acquire this property and nobody can build on it. But unless that happens, it's going to look like that mess that you showed up there for 2050, where it's just gridlock everywhere. But already you start coming in, when I was coming in tonight, traffic was backed up way past 10 Mile going toward Nampa, all the way into the connector. And so how does that get fixed?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, that's the classic challenge of fast-growing regions like this. And so there are a number of different answers. There's no silver bullet answer to that. But that southern connectivity study that I mentioned that we're in the process of kicking off right now, that's basically let me just back up a second. Say those big lines on maps sometimes disappear from the maps, but the ideas and the need that they represent never really do. And so as we're starting that study, and the Transportation Department is leading it, and we're participants and providing a lot of the data and the analysis for them. But as that study, among the things they'll be looking at are the connections to some type of potential, with no specific route really chosen, to some type of southern connection, that as the extent of that study right now goes, either stops at 45 or maybe continues south of Lake Lowell, but doesn't yet look at the connection back up to the north. So that's been examined and studied. You're absolutely right. You know, as soon as there's development, in just the simplest terms, the cost and the sort of the pain around making big projects like that happen, if you don't get in front of the need, grow. And so, you know, the object in a situation like this is usually to try to find the way to identify the best solution as quickly as possible and start laying the groundwork for it. And it may not be construction of the project yet, but, you know, I mean, part of the conversation we had the other day was about, you know, what the steps might end up looking like for once an alignment could be identified, how you start acquiring the right-of-way now and work that into the development plans. And that's an important part. I mean, you know, when we identify that future piece of infrastructure, it allows the local agencies to be able to have that be one of the considerations as you're reviewing, you know, the individual developments as they're coming in, as Cuna is looking at those, and Nampa Caldwell as well. The other thing too is, as I noted, you know, these types of big projects like that are expensive, and they take I'll say more of a political commitment from a region to be willing to take that big vision and see it to the end. And a really good example for how that's happened in a peer community is Salt Lake City. So, you know, 25, 30 years ago, Salt Lake City started on addressing their version of the types of impacts that we're foreseeing right now. And it took them time, and it took a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of commitment politically from the business community, from the public as a whole, from elected officials and all the governing bodies. But it takes that kind of engagement and vision as well to be able to actually address the future needs.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions at all?
Yes, kind of hitting on that same thing, is have they decided on anything like that as far as I know? Because for years, they were talking about going from the stage stop and all the way out and around and tie it back in to take traffic that's going through Boise that's not gonna stop, and more of a truck route, if you want to say, and that's just kind of falling off. Is there anything that you know of that's in the maps in your study of anything in the works or thought of on something like that?
Chair and Commissioner, I don't know, again, I'm new in the role, so I don't know exactly why that plan went away, but I believe it was because of concerns about the land use impacts, particularly in Canyon County, as to why that route that had been in some of our planning documents a few decades ago isn't there anymore. The plan that we're on right now isn't at the point yet of examining any specific route or the size or scale of what that infrastructure might need to be. And by itself, identifying those needs won't address the problems, because it's usually a lot more complicated than that. And so it's the connections and the connectivity overall to be able to distribute the trips effectively as the development starts to fill in there. But if I were to go back to that one map that showed the density around the region happening, and the conversations we have around that's based on what we know is going to be happening. Projects like that start to change what that pattern looks like. And so that's something that, as that develops more, it becomes a feedback loop, and you build that infrastructure. It makes that travel or using that infrastructure, it provides a way for folks to get to their destinations, and it encourages development there. And I'm sure it's something that you've seen. I will share one interesting data point, and it's actually very surprising how little of the traffic that's on I-84 right now that we think is that pass-through traffic. How little of that is actually pass-through traffic. It's only about 4% of the vehicles at the peak, over the course of a day rather, it's only about 4% of the vehicles are passing through. Almost all the vehicles, the other 95, 96% are from users inside the region to start with. And so the likely benefit of a bypass coming all the way around would probably be that it would relieve pressure for people that are in the region for getting to their destinations east and west, and then the connectivity north-south, the improved connectivity north and south that would bring to. But it's among what we're looking at, but we don't have a specific alignment, and the state DOT doesn't have a specific alignment yet. I mean, there's logical routes, and one of the things realistically that happens when there's already development going on, it's not total greenfield like what Philadelphia would have been experiencing, is they tend to follow and be an expansion of existing roads, or an improvement that fills gaps as at least the first step. And so, that would suggest some of the alignments that are likely to be viable right now. And then obviously, realistically, it's if that's an easier way to make something happen, given the resource constraints that we all operate under, that's the more likely path.
No, that's good to hear. I mean, I was just in Texas last weekend, and it was impressive, their road structure and everything else like that, on how fast I was able to get around with that many people.
If I could ask, I'm just curious which part.
I was in Dallas.
Okay.
And just seeing, how easy it's to come and get off, and, you're on another little highway that runs right next to that highway, the freeway, and they just got it, but I think they forecasted a lot farther ahead than some other places.
Right. So if I could, my previous job was MPO director, Metropolitan Plan Organization director for the Houston region, and they have Beltway, And then, oh my God, another beltway that is in some places 90 miles away from the center of the region. It would take me easily 2.5 to 3 hours to drive across my region to get from one edge to the other. We've got geographic constraints that are different here.
Sure.
So it won't look like that, but if you were to guess, I would bet 20 to 30 years from now, we are a lot right now like what Salt Lake City area was like 30 years ago. And so I would bet that we'll end up looking a lot like what Salt Lake City looks like.
I just was going to give you some feedback. I live in southern Ada County, so Lake Hazel getting kind of extended out to Orchard has been really nice to improve getting people off of the freeway. So I've been using that a lot. And then when you said State Highway 69 extension, you aren't possibly talking about a bridge over Indian Creek?
I think if I could, Chair, Chair, Commissioner, if I could, something like that would probably have to happen for that extension to go all the way to the south that it needs to. Again, no alignment, no decisions made. I gave a presentation this morning to the Highway District there, or not 69, but the Highway District for Canyon County, the southern part of Canyon County. And as soon as I said that, they're like, what route are you talking about? What alignment are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. That's, that ends up being the state, the state transportation department ends up really making those calls. And then we try to help them evaluate the alternatives and options. But, if it's going to go far to the south, it's going to get to Indian Creek, and it's going to have to cross it.
Okay, thank you. And then on your outreach, do you have involvement with any of the school districts?
So the West Ada district is actually one of our members, and so they're directly involved. But we ourselves don't engage much with the schools, but we pay for a number of what I call safe routes to school programs around the region, and then they're engaging directly with the schools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If I could also on that, there's been some really interesting recent examples, that sort of national engagement that we do. There have been some really good, interesting examples lately for ways to actually engage not on like the safety side and how to walk and behave more safely, but actually on the planning side with elementary age students. And some of the benefits and perspectives that can be heard and the way it can develop narratives that can help us adults and old folks understand better what what some of the needs and solutions are that we may not be familiar with.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a question. I'm not too familiar with your group. I've heard of it, so excuse the sophomore questions. What sort of company are you? Are you like an NGO? Are you like a C Corps? How are you kind of?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could. So, Commissioner, we're established under a joint powers agreement, and we are some form of nonprofit. I'm not sure.
That's actually, no, that's a
Oh.
mistake.
We are not a form. We are not a form of nonprofit. But I mean, we're I guess I'd say a quasi-governmental agency. I mean, we are public. We're all public servants, public sector. But I'm not sure exactly like what that category is. And the states they're different also in different states. But our primary authority is from our joint powers agreement that we have with all the local governments that are participating.
Okay.
with us.
And then as far as grants, federal fund grants, with your agreement, does that make you the middleman, for lack of a better term, for that? Or are you the only game in town, or are you one of the people, or groups who are able to?
So we're actually designated by the governor as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and with that designation, there are certain funds, certain pots of federal dollars that we directly allocate or that we make the programming decisions for. And then as I noted, if it's a federal dollar, the role of an MPO, of a Metropolitan Planning Organization, is to partner and do that coordinated, cooperative, ongoing planning with the local agencies and with the state DOT to be able to ensure that the other federal dollars that come into the region meet the regional needs and the plan. And so they don't happen. It's sort of like a check and balance kind of thing. So our board plays a big role in being able to not identify all of the projects that, say, the state might spend transportation dollars on, but essentially to endorse those decisions.
And then the last question, if I may. Just learning here, thank you. And then, let's see here, what was I going to say? Oh, so it says why belong to Compass? I'm just reading your thing here. Are there any groups within Ada and Canyon who are not members in your group? Or are most decision-making bodies, whether it be school, county, city, fill in the blank, are they all involved in Compass?
So both county governments are involved. All of the incorporated cities are involved. The highway district for Ada County is involved. One of the highway districts for Canyon County is involved. The others have been involved in the past, and I think their interest comes and goes because the issues that they're dealing with and some of the processes that they undertake, it's not always necessarily to their benefit to have to. They don't really want to seek the federal dollars, and so they don't always see the value. But we do still try to provide them with information. And like I said, West Ada School District is involved, and they kind of take the role of trying to represent the school district and transportation needs for us, but we're always trying to get as much engagement as possible. I'll also say, Boise State is involved, CCDC is involed, or I hope that's right.
Capital City Development, yeah. I know
Yes, thank you, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have some questions. So I love that you talked about how it's not through traffic. This is commuter traffic that we are struggling with coming from Nampa, Caldwell, to Boise. And I think we have an education problem in this Treasure Valley in that we think that we can outroad our problem. And I feel like I agree we're somewhat like Salt Lake, but we're also like Portland in the 1960s when they finally decided roads aren't going to solve it and they developed the TriMet. And I feel like we have existing infrastructure where we potentially could throw rail. We have the train that runs to the Boise Depot, throw another rail out to Gowan. The problem is we have a very stubborn population that thinks that we can continue to build a bajillion neighborhoods out here and we'll just keep throwing cars on roads and big, huge trucks. And so one guy can drive all the way to Micron as it grows another 10 or 15,000 jobs. So I guess and I love what Compass is doing. This is so outstanding. I've heard about you guys. I was the defense movement coordinator for Gowan for the state of Idaho, so I know a lot of the trans woes because I'd have to move tanks and stuff on some of these roads. But I think, and I wish, I don't know if you guys do this. I know you guys have an outreach for safety, but I almost would encourage you guys to become kind of a lobbyist group to start telling people around here, hey, I get it. You came to Boise because you wanted your single-family home and your 2 to 3 cars. But when everyone came here and did that, it's not going to work. We can't loop around Boise because the traffic is coming through Boise, whether it's through State Street, whether it's through 84, whether it's down Chinden, whether it's down Fairview, those are a mess. And so I hope that, and I love what Compass does, I just hope that maybe potentially you could look into outreach and education by just telling people, hey, this system has no future. We are going to be gridlocked, and we have to get serious about some sort of metro. We are at that tipping point where Portland was. 1969 is when the Portland TriMet was developed, and they had about 900,000 people. They saw the future, and it's relative. I was in San Francisco yesterday. I drove back from San Francisco yesterday. What an outstanding transportation system that is. And I know that there's this visceral abhorrence to becoming California or Portland and the boogeyman that is, but we need a metro here, and a road circling Boise is not going to stop the traffic through 84. And so that's kind of my feeling. It was something that I think we are currently at the tipping point, and the center of gravity keeps getting yanked back and forth because now Micron has gotten huge, and that's amazing. I just don't think that we have a lot of, I don't know, the gumption in this valley for people to leave their air-conditioned single vehicle, and they have a family of 5 and a kid that drives or 2. And I would love to just be able to just get on the train and come to Ada County Planning and Zoning, quite frankly.
So if I could, a couple of comments on that. We have on our team, on our staff, we've got someone who talks fondly of the train trolley that used to run all the way out to Wilder. And being able to take that as an alternative. In the course of the study that we're undertaking right now for the high-capacity transit line, we heard from people in small Greenleaf who told us if something like that happens, they'll use it. They'll drive into Caldwell, so they'll still have to drive a little bit, but they'll drive into Caldwell, hop on the train to take the train. And ideally, they want to be able to get all the way to Mountain Home.
Incorporating Elmore County would be huge.
We're going to be having conversations with Elmore County as well. Odds are the development patterns over time are going to force us to have to expand the MPO sometime after 2030. So if we can have those conversations with them sooner and start developing the data and the relationships and all of that, we'll be able to do that too. But the other point that I always make around transit and high-capacity transit as well is the users of that are people then that aren't having to use the interstate or aren't having to use the surface road, the road system. And so there are still benefits to the non-transit users from a transit system, and it's especially so in a region where you're starting to see the kind of congestion that we're seeing on both on the interstate as well as you noted on the arterials around the region too. And then the final one is the Portland analogy is a really, really good one. Part of their successes too were the way in which they really started to pay a lot more of attention. I'm not going to get into the whole growth boundary thing or all of that, but they started to pay a lot more attention to what their development patterns looked like so that TriMet could be successful in its implementation. And so they started to develop higher concentrations of urban area that extended on the alignments that they knew they were going to be developing, and that's part of why they've been successful with that.
And that's what I think the rail that could run, we could use our existing rail and then just bus out of Eagle north-south. I think that would be huge, because I don't think there's enough space to throw another rail all the way down to Eagle, but I think that would be a huge benefit on Eagle Road, 84, 16, and then, I don't know, in the interim, have you guys considered talking about a zip lane? So I know we have, zip line.
Gondola?
No, a zip line. I know we have a weird, our bridges are, our bridges aren't really conducive to that over 84, but pushing the lane over for morning one way, pushing the lane over the other way Is that something that is feasible, or is that just impossible because we've already constructed our way out of that possibility?
Two things. One, I said gondola. I thought that's, when he said zip line, that's what
No,
what I went.
meant
That's
like
one
a
of the-
zip,
that's-
like a zipper lane where they have that,
Yeah.
that truck that pulls the median and drives in the morning and then opens it up in the evening.
Something like that is feasible almost anywhere that you've got a nice wide flat piece of infrastructure like that. So it's feasible. Whether it whether it's it's engineering wise feasible, whether it's feasible financially or as a design element. I also think that there are some of the options that might be considered. And again, I mean, these are ideas. They're not recommendations. They're not planned. I really want to emphasize that. But the toolbox of things that can be done to address or improve transportation is really big. Some of them may be attractive. Some of them may not be attractive. But there are ways. Texas, Justin, Texas, right? So you probably saw some of the double decking that happens there as well. I don't think they don't do as much in Dallas as they do in Austin, San Antonio, and Houston. But that's a solution as they start to build the system higher. I'm not pushing for it or anything. It has some negative impacts doing that too. But point just being is there are a range of solutions that as we start having these conversations, with me in my new role, a lot of these things will at least get a new opportunity to be heard and considered.
Yeah, for sure. My last thing is it's just kind of frustrating to go to smaller cities like Reno, and they have a better metro than we do. And so, I mean, it's just a mentality, which is why I think it's harder. Leaning on legislature is one thing, but I think leaning on the people who vote for the legislature would be a big help too, in some way, because at some point, I feel like once we hit 1 million people, that's it's just going to happen. There's just no way around it. And I got to say one thing is there's this stat you have on your dynamic region is really spooky, where we jump 225,000 in 25 years, and then another 225,000 in just 5 years after that. Like, it goes parabolic. That's insane. Like, that's 1.3 million people 30 years from now. We
But
can't.
if you go backwards 30 years, we've had that kind of.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing is thankfully we've had the land to be able to road build our way out of it, but I don't think we can road build 1.3 million people in the current situation. I think we're going to need trains and buses, as much as that doesn't feel as small town as we all want it to still feel here. So, what's up?
Last question, real quick. And this is pretty sci-fi, okay? But
Flying cars?
it does go out 2050, right? And yes,
Teleportation.
Commissioner Blitman, they are starting to come out with little personal pods and robo-taxis that are, flying, quadcopter style type of things. And I know we're way far out on that, but is that anything that people in your think tank have been discussing, or at least thrown a dart at the wall about when you think anything like that might come about, or future planning for airways almost, just as kind of a sci-fi thought?
Sure. So that's certainly something that we will probably include some kind of future technologies element to it, because they're not really ripe yet. It's hard to know like what that sort of adoption curve could end up looking like. I'll just note Houston actually. A couple of the suburbs in Houston were actually some of the real pilot testing for some of those technologies, and so I do have pretty direct experience with it. And the modeling we were showing is they never really make much of an impact, but as an alternative, they could relieve maybe 1% of the traffic, like the UAVs of some type. Could start making, they could start having some kind of an impact. A lot of the technologies around that are emerging transportation technologies around automation have potential. So again, it gets down into the weeds a little bit, but we use a we use a number for the lane capacity right now, the number of vehicles that a lane mile can travel in, the number of vehicles that can travel on a lane mile of roadway in an hour. And the maximum for that right now is around 1,800 to 1,600. And it really doesn't matter whether it's a freeway lane of travel or it's a street, surface street, because on a freeway, the gaps increase. And you may not feel it because you're traveling at 60 miles an hour, ideally, or you may just be traveling at 20 miles an hour, but that's what happens. But those technologies I've referred to it as virtual capacity, because a well-functioning automated vehicle can reduce the distance between the vehicles significantly, and they can also find ways to sort of platoon if they know the destination, and sort of put sets together of vehicles that are all going the same way, because a lot of the delays on highways in particular is from the lane changes that you can't anticipate because you're trying to get through and someone else is trying to get over. And
Just a
increased
thought, because
automation.
as, your group and the local governments, et cetera, come up with a plan, it would seem logical to not come up with 20,000 or 2,050 solutions using 2025 technology,
Yeah, if I could too, there was a period of time, 10 years ago or so, where I was strongly making the case when I was the director in Las Vegas that we needed to start making those decisions too. And it led to different decisions about some of the infrastructure and understanding that capacity, the need, if we only use the technology right now that we have to project the future, sure, we can build it, but if we know or can be reasonably certain that infrastructure that we won't need that new lane or two new lanes, we may only need one new lane, because we're going to pick up this virtual capacity through automation and other technologies, not just automation, but other technologies. It can save a lot of money and it can get things done faster. So yeah, that's certainly something that we'll be looking at.
Yeah, that's a good one with the, private sector will probably end up doing that with Amazon. If we can get Amazon trucks off the view and they can just deliver it, that'd be help. Waymo's another one. I was just in San Francisco. Waymo is crazy. I was seeing they'd have driverless cars driving in their cities, and they're perfect. They don't have problems. If they get in an accident, it's a human caused the accident. It's the wildest thing. If you ever get a chance to see one of those things, they're crazy. I have. So just completely driverless. There's no person in it. Guy gets in the back like it's a cab and it drives him to a destination. It's cool. So, I don't know. Anyone else? This was super informative. I'm very appreciative of this. This is very nice.
There seems to be a big resistance, but I'll admit, I lived in LA for a year, 40 years ago, and other places that they would use the metering lights to get on the freeway, and you never see one here.
Metering lights, yeah, them too.
Is there a reason for that?
I don't know if there's a reason. The typical reason for that is driver compliance and not very good driver compliance with that. So I've kind of been all over the place on this stuff. So Houston has tried that in the past, and it's taken some pretty significant education and enforcement activities for that to be successful. But it can improve the flow a little bit. And for folks you have to think in terms that the transportation system as a whole is sort of like a bunch of funnels and stuff. And basically, people are going to follow the path of least resistance. And if they're slowed down getting onto the interstate too much, they'll start taking, Franklin or Fairview or or Overland or something instead. And that then carries those impacts too. And so it's all a balancing act. But the state, we are working with the state right now on what's called a TSMO, Traffic System Management and Operations plan. And those types of solutions will be part of what we at least evaluate with that plan.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. If no one else has any questions, thank you so much. I'm glad we took the extra time for this. This was super informative.
Thank you very much. Sorry to keep you so late, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we were here till 11 last meeting, so
Yeah,
we
so
feel
it's not
like
huge
we're
now.
getting off early.
Yeah.
So.
Timers.
You're welcome.
We aren't done yet. We do have to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
But I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Murphy.
I move to approve the minutes of the Ada County P and Z Commission public hearing that was held on November 13th at 6 PM.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Birch has seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Say aye. That carries. All right. And then Board of County Commissioners update.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Commissioners met last night. I think they ran till 11:20. So they had 10 items on their agenda. They took up 4 area of impact renewal requests that you also saw for Eagle, Star, Meridian, and Boise. They chose to approve the 3 of them, Eagle, Star, and Meridian, and had a lot of testimony when they considered Boise's request, primarily concerned about sewer extensions and the city of Boise's sewer.
Was it SWACA that came out in force?
I believe there was a member of SWACA that testified, but some other residents, some developers in the area testified, just concerned with the city's unwillingness to extend sewer. So the commissioners decided to table that for a couple weeks and kind of see if they're kind of floating the idea of conditionally approving the request. Not entirely sure how that will work, but they'll talk to their legal counsel and see what they can come up with. But also see if we can get any kind of feedback from the city. A couple of city council members were in attendance, listening to the testimony, and seemed to kind of hint, at least from their personal perspective, that potentially there may be some momentum, some at least discussion about sewer in the Southwest. And then the other items, they considered the property just to the west of the Albertsons in the Southwest. You heard quite a bit there when the PEG companies was trying to do a development. They considered a new proposal from Rocky Mountain Companies. They're a local commercial development group proposing, I think it was 12 commercial lots on that site. So that was approved. We had Mr. Carlos Vidales came out in support. So
He's the SWACA guy.
yeah, so that was approved. They approved a Fiddleneck Ridge was a subdivision up at the end of Broken Horn Lane that you recommended approval of. They approved that. Basically a 3-lot residential subdivision off of a private road. I believe you recommended approval on that one. There was a variance. So sometimes when there's a variance, I'm not entirely sure if you saw it or not. But another item that they did end up approving was a pretty sizable solar farm out by the prisons. I don't know if this one came to you. I think the request to remove some of the property from CUNA's impact area was associated with this. The property was state land, so this was approved. There was a little bit of a testimony in opposition, but it was, about 150 megawatts, just over 350,000 solar panels. Commissioners approved that. They did ask for a kind of a surety agreement. This is under our old code, so they did ask for the decommissioning security agreement, that type of thing that would cover decommissioning down the road. They approved a variance for a contractor's yard out on the west boundary of the county off Greenhurst, a small trucking company. There's a variance associated with that, so I don't think you saw that one. And then they had a request from the Kirshner Group. This is the property that I believe you took testimony on this one. It's south side of Cunamora, just by Vista. The gentleman was proposing 2 contractors' yards. I'm not seeing anything.
It's the compost.
Yes.
He had the one that was going to be a compost, and then the rest of it was going to be 1 acre
Exactly.
spots that he leased out to other people.
Yeah, so ultimately his approval was that northern contractor's yard was limited to 50 vehicles. He came back asking for a modification of the development agreement in that condition to allow up to, let's see if I have the number here. 280, yes, thank you. So 280 vehicles. Ultimately, I'm trying to remember what the county commissioners did with that one. We ended up tabling that. It was a little unclear kind of what they could do with a new condition there. There's a little confusion what would be a vehicle, what would be considered a vehicle. So how did we end up with that one?
They tabled it to get some legal clarification on whether they could condition it.
Add conditions. Yeah, so they were requesting to modify a condition, and they were questioning if they could add a condition based on that modification. So that was an interesting one. And then their last item was related to the Winters Run project, or kind of the last phases of the Winters Run project, the Lake Hazel and Maple Grove. And that one, the developer ultimately decided to request that it be tabled. They're trying to work with Boise City to come up with a revision of the preliminary plat. So that was tabled for a month while the developer talks to Boise City. And that's the quick rundown. Any questions?
Thanks for the update.
Yes, and hopefully everybody met Christie.
Yep, hi, Christie.
Sure, Bullet News?
Christie, but.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay. So yeah, Christie will be assuming Leon's position, and we'll see if she's ready to roll in January.
What's next month looking like?
What's that?
What's next month looking like?
I think we have the Chapin project. Yeah, I'm going off memory here. I believe in January you have the, no, that's the Board of County Commissioners. I guess I'm a little dangerous to go off memory here.
No worries.
Well, appreciate it. Yeah, Chairman Scott, I believe, next month you guys will have elections, so appreciate your willingness to fill the chair role.
Someone else.
No, you're doing a fantastic job, bro. I'm telling you.
Adjourn.